failed the mission. I'll be erased by the system. On that day, I told Willow for the last time. You can still regret it. This is your final chance. She glanced disdainfully at the 10 young models I had deliberately pointed out. A few days later, she frantically looked for me after seeing news of me spitting blood online. But it was too late. I was done. Chapter 1. After 7 years of pursuing Willow, she was about to marry Makoto, who had just returned to the country. She looked at me coldly and handed me a check for 100 million, saying, "As we agreed, this is your payment for being my stand-in." I ignored her because the system told me I had failed and I would be out in 10 days. I was speechless. 100 million. Couldn't I enjoy it a bit longer before leaving? So I looked at the check on the table and smirked, asking the system, "Can't we salvage this?" The system replied, "No." Willow probably thought I couldn't let go. She pursed her lips and said, "That's already plenty. Please don't disturb me and Makoto anymore." Fine. I quickly grabbed the check, thinking about how I had pretended for 7 years being loving, considerate, and patient, only to have 10 days to enjoy it. How could I possibly spend that in 10 days? Whatever. 10 days were still 10 days. It could vanish in an instant. With that thought, I lowered my head to scroll through my phone. As I flipped through my contacts, she seemed to want to say something. "George, actually, Before she could finish, I had already dialed David. "David, your company is nearby." "Right. Arrange for 10 young models immediately." "Are you out of your mind? Can your body handle it?" "Stop talking. I need 10 right now. Pay is negotiable. I've sent you my location. They need to arrive in 10 minutes. "Willow." "Oh, we broke up." "Hurry up." 9.5 minutes left. After hanging up, I looked at the twisted expression on Willow's face and asked, "What were you saying?" Her face turned bright red, and after a moment she finally managed. "George, you're just trying to provoke me, right?" I chuckled. "Miss Lou, Boss Lou, why would I provoke you? I've lived a bland life. What's wrong with enjoying myself? Don't worry, I won't disturb you in Makoto." She was at a loss for words, and after a while she resentfully said, "You better remember your words." I nodded nonchalantly and waved at the 10 beauties just stepping out of the sports car. They greeted Willow and shyly called me, "Hello, brother." I was dizzy from the overwhelming attention, surrounded in a whirlwind of excitement. As I walked out with the girls, I paused at the door and looked back at the indignant Willow, saying, "You can still regret this. This is your final chance." Her eyes widened in disbelief as she glanced at us and bit her lip. "I don't need it. You should be careful if you develop these bad habits. Even 100 million won't last you a month. Don't come looking for me later," I replied. "Don't worry, I keep my promises." A month. I only had 10 days left. Chapter 2. Turning away. I felt a heaviness in my chest for some reason. Was it just this body's reaction? I looked down to see a girl beside me reaching out her hand. Over the years, Willow and I had only each other. We had an agreement to keep our distance from the opposite sex outside work. But now I took the girl's hand, one in each hand behind me. I felt Willow's gaze piercing into our hands. "Let's go. First, we'll exchange money at the bank, then I'll treat you all to a big meal." I smiled, gripping the girl's hand tightly. These days, I planned to do everything I couldn't do over the past 7 years. After exchanging the money into my name, I took the 10 models to the best restaurant in City A. We booked the whole place. I ordered all my favorite dishes. After eating, we visited various attractions, places I had missed over the years. Having spent 7 years in this world, there were many places I actually liked. At night, I took all 10 girls out to party, drinking and dancing together. The vibrant nightlife was my favorite. While enjoying myself, I suddenly thought I saw Willow's cold face in the crowd, just as I was about to move closer to confirm. A paparazzo squeezed through, looking indignant, and asked, "Excuse me, are you Mr. George? Don't you care that Miss Lou might be heartbroken by your actions?" "Heartbroken?" I waved my hand dismissively, saying, "We've broken up." The paparazzi exchanged glances and continued, "Are you heartbroken because Miss Lou dumped you, which drove you to drown your sorrows and drink?" "Heartbroken? Drowning sorrows, I replied. What are you talking about? This is just my nature. I've wanted to do this for years. These past years have been stifling, and if you hadn't mentioned her, I'd almost forgotten about Willow. After 7 years, I ultimately failed to win her over. I never entered her heart. Why should these paparazzi rub salt in my wounds? Besides, I had no feelings for her. She was merely my target. She only claimed I was her choice when her parents opposed our relationship. She silently cried for me when I was in pain during work gatherings. She encouraged me when I felt lost and secretly contacted people to help me before she returned. She was just a silly girl who often questioned my love for her with tears. I had another target in the next world, an entire forest ahead. She meant nothing to me. What a buzzkill, a beautiful day ruined by them. I looked up where I had seen Willow and found nothing. I must have been mistaken. The paparazzi still wanted to ask. So I quickly signaled the 10 girls to leave. Before departing, I tossed out. If you want to take pictures or write, fine. But can you stop bothering me? Don't ask so many questions. Then, feeling tipsy, I took the 10 girls back to the hotel. The front desk asked how many rooms I wanted. How many? Of course, just one. The presidential suite. Chapter 3. When I woke up the next day, the first thing I did was rush to the bathroom to throw up. I vomited violently. Oh no, I drank too much. While throwing up, I suddenly spat out blood. I quickly flushed the toilet, realizing too late. My stomach twisted in pain. Sitting on the floor, I bore the pain and asked the system what was happening. The system informed me that this body was about to die. It was normal. Oh, stomach cancer. I remembered now. I still had the medical report on my bedside table at home. I had told Willow about my illness, but coincidentally, that day, Makoto asked her out. Willow had looked at me coldly, even mocking, someone like you would get sick. George, you'd be better off dead. Well, it seemed her wish would come true. I was really going to die. It hurt so much. I was rolling on the floor. As I rolled, I suddenly caught sight of a huge screen outside, looping the wedding announcement. Miss Lou Willow will hold a grand wedding with Makoto in 9 days. It even showed their wedding photos. Makoto held Willow's hand, her face displaying a warmth I had never seen before. My stomach hurt even more. Everything hurt. I was about to die. System. Can I leave early? I can't take it anymore. I asked. The system replied that I couldn't. Isn't there a fruit in the system shop called no pain? No gain. Exchange for that. The system asked. Are you sure? You need to have completed several world's tasks to earn the points for it. Exchange. I was in so much pain. The tasks in previous worlds were different. A few times were chaotic and I had been seriously injured, but nothing compared to this pain. Okay, a red fruit appeared in my hand and I reluctantly popped it into my mouth. It melted instantly and worked immediately. The excruciating pain that had almost killed me vanished in an instant. I lay on the floor, gasping, listening to the system's voice. The no pain, no gain fruit is effective only in this world. During this time, whether the host is hit by a car or whatever, there will be no pain perception, but bleeding and other phenomena will still occur. So I would still break bones or spit blood just without the pain. All right, I understood. After lying there for a while, the girls I had exhausted started waking up one by one. They came over to help me. After some tidying up, we began our day's agenda. Just as we reached the hotel front desk, we unexpectedly ran into Willow, who had come to the hotel with Makoto. What a coincidence. The front desk clearly announced. Hello, Mr. George. Do you need to extend the suite you booked yesterday with these ladies? Chapter 4. Extend. Why wouldn't I extend? This was the most expensive hotel in the city. I turned to let the front desk process the payment. I could feel Willow's gaze drilling into my back. I couldn't be blamed for this. I had come to the hotel first. She and Makoto came later. I hadn't intruded on their lives. The front desk quickly completed the transaction, and I walked past them with the 10 girls, not glancing at Willow even once. Chapter 5. My schedule was packed. I took the 10 girls to various scenic spots, indulging in food and drinks. Entertainment headlines, aside from Willow's wedding news, were all about me. #10 beauties at my side. #George becomes James Bond. #George living his best life. #they followed me around and I didn't care online. There were mixed opinions, mostly negative, but I was indifferent since I was about to leave. Besides hiring 10 models, I also hired some bodyguards to ensure my plans went uninterrupted. I had only a few days. I was busy 4 days. I ate, shopped, and partied at night, sometimes returning to the hotel and sometimes not. It was a blast. One evening, just as I was about to switch to another bar, Makoto blocked my way. "Is there something you need?" I asked directly. "Can we find a place to talk?" He said. "Just say it." "I'm in a hurry," I replied. "Busy." He seemed a bit angry, but then calmed down to continue. "Aren't you just upset that I took your girlfriend? There's a saying. What's meant to be will be, and what's not meant to be shouldn't be forced. As a man, you should be able to let go. It's petty of you to seek revenge by flaunting your presence after the breakup, making Willow uncomfortable. Do you realize that?" I was dumbfounded. I actually laughed. I asked, "Why would I be upset? Besides, why does it matter to you if I am or not? What I do with the girls has nothing to do with you. And whether Willow feels uncomfortable or not, why would I care? If you call this revenge, I just find it funny. Friend, you probably know nothing about revenge." I couldn't help but recall the Last World's protagonist lying paralyzed in bed and burst into laughter. He instinctively took a step back, looking wary. I looked at his face, which resembled mine 7 parts out of 10. Willow had been with me for 7 years because of this face. Since we met, per our agreement, whenever we fought for life, she would call me Makoto, except the night before he returned. That night, she drank a lot, her eyes hazy yet serious as she buried her head in my chest, mumbling, "George, I love you so much." At that moment, I almost believed she truly loved me. Unfortunately, I still failed to take her place, and they were still getting married. I looked up at the billboards still towering in the city, announcing their wedding set for tomorrow. Turns out today was already the 9th day. Chapter 6. Suddenly, I felt a complex mix of emotions. A burning sensation coursed through my heart. It seemed the fruit not only dulled physical pain. A bunch of paparazzi followed me, and Makoto stood right in front of me. I smiled and said, "Don't look at me like that. Groom, you're getting married tomorrow. Congratulations in advance." He frowned and opened his mouth to say something, but I waved him off. "Truly." Then I left with the girls and bodyguards. Chapter 7. We continued to party, but I couldn't shake the feeling of unhappiness. It was all Makoto's fault for ruining my vibe. Sigh. I thought if I drank more, I could forget and feel happy again. So I really tried to cheer up, holding my glass. I laughed while looking at the 10 girls who were also giggling like mad. The table was piled high with drinks, and I planned to indulge. "Let's mix these together and make a depth charge." I pointed to the colorful drinks on the table. The girls eagerly complied, mixing the vibrant concoctions. I picked up the final light purple liquid and downed it in one go. "Look at me. Impressive. Right?" I said. The girls clapped in encouragement, feeling emboldened. I grabbed another drink, about to down it when suddenly a wave of metallic sweetness hit my throat, and I vomited a large mouthful of blood. "Are you okay, brother? Did you just throw up blood?" The nearby girls panicked. "Cough, cough." I choked, waving my hand. No, let's keep drinking. I was just saying how awesome I am." I tried to drink again, but before I could, another large mouthful of blood erupted from me. This time, I spewed it right into my glass, turning the light purple drink red. I lost control, vomiting blood in gushing waves. The table became a bloody mess. "Brother, don't scare me." They were in a frenzy, and paparazzi were still snapping photos as the bar staff rushed over. I checked my phone for the time. It was already the 10th day, 12 a.m. At the same moment, the entertainment headlines erupted with a breaking notification. #Jaw Gevermit's Bloodlatenet #Chapter 8. As I settled the bill and left with the girls, the crowd around us was suffocating. Fortunately, My bodyguards were numerous enough to clear a path. They later tried to follow me, but since I had been a racer in another world, I knew how to lose them. So I ultimately escaped everyone and sat alone in my car in the wilderness. My phone buzzed incessantly, with notifications popping up. #George's personality change #. #George's intentions behind blood vomiting on Willow's wedding day #. Willow and Makoto's wedding #. One after another, it seemed endless. Countless people who had my contact information kept messaging and calling. There were various nasty comments under many accounts. "George, you're pathetic. Purposely causing a scene on their wedding day. Why don't you just die? They're meant for each other. If you're a stand-in, you should act like one. Do you understand?" I scanned through the comments and smiled helplessly. Even knowing these were just things from they still made me unhappy. I picked up my phone, ignoring the rest, and answered David's incoming call. "George, you." Before David could finish, I cut in. "David, I sent those girls home. The pay for these days should go into your company account as we agreed. Please check. Is now really the time for this?" David was almost furious. "What's going on? Didn't you say you'd have them with you to forget Willow and start anew? What's with this nonsense?" I gazed out the car window at the starry sky and said I didn't mean to. I had no idea I would end up vomiting blood. "They said that blood looked quite real," David remarked, then fell silent for a moment before saying, "You don't mean to say you really?" "Yeah, I'm about to die," I replied. "I can't believe this." David cursed, sounding worried with money. "Why aren't you getting treated? Where are you now? I'll come get you." I suddenly felt a wave of sadness and didn't want to talk anymore. "I don't want treatment." With that, I hung up the phone. Chapter 9, he called again, but I didn't pick up. I muted my phone. I lit a loo and took in the nearby scenery, quietly spending what would be my last moments in this world. The moonlight was like water. In the wilderness, I saw a long-tailed tit soft like a ball of snow, lightly perched on a tree branch. Without thinking, I snapped a picture, instinctively wanting to send it to Willow. Habit is a terrifying thing. Back when we were together, Willow loved these cute little creatures. Every time she saw or touched one, she'd be over the moon. So I developed the habit of sending her pictures of them. But as soon as I opened her chat, her message popped up. "George, you're pathetic. Pretending to cough up blood just to disgust me in Makoto." Suddenly a suffocating feeling surged within me. And yet my car window was wide open. Forget it, I won't send it to her. I had forgotten we'd broken up. I hadn't changed the habits I'd developed while pursuing her. I exited the chat and posted the picture of the bird on my own social media platform. I captioned it "a nimble little snowball." I had barely posted it before my account got flooded. "Ruining someone's wedding. George, that's a new low. Why aren't you dead yet? I'll be at your grave next year. Sigh. I really shouldn't have posted it." David's messages kept popping up, but I ignored them. Later, he just kept commenting on my post. "George, pick up the phone. Answer me now. If you don't respond, I'll leak the recording." And then there was a notification marked as a favorite from Willow. "I've always been marrying Makoto. I'm not your possession. If you truly love me, you'd let go. A good ex should act as if he were dead." Chapter 10. A trembling wave of bitterness spread from deep within me, making it hard to breathe. All I could do was keep scrolling on my phone with my shaking fingers. I deleted all of Willow's contacts and slumped against my seat. Notifications kept flooding in. People were saying all kinds of things, but I didn't bother to look anymore. What was this suffocating feeling that I couldn't quite put into words? Wasn't I supposed to be immune to pain after eating that no-pain fruit? Why did I still feel like this? I cursed and accused the system of giving me faulty goods. The system told me that while I indeed couldn't feel physical pain, certain emotional reactions were unavoidable. It said, "You're just too upset right now." I gritted my teeth and stayed silent. It didn't hurt, but it was unbearable. Her message kept echoing in my head. If I wasn't so weak, I'd show them what revenge really looks like. But there's no point. What good is it to say all this? I asked the system. How long is this going to last? The system replied. Calm down, host 6 or 7 hours and you'll be fine. I'll set you up with a sweet romance in the next world. I scoffed. 6 or 7 hours because of this woman. Every extra minute is a loss. I'm done. Without waiting for the system to finish, I grabbed a knife from the drawer and ended it in one swift stroke. The system was stunned and said, "Host, why didn't you let me finish outside?" It had started to rain. The rain came down hard. I quietly listened to it, feeling the strength drain from my body. A few mouthfuls of blood later, my vision blurred. A hollow feeling washed over me as the system chimed. I felt myself start to float upward. My phone slid to the side. The last thing I saw on the screen was a series of exploding notifications. Hashtag David leaks George's phone recording, hashtag George diagnosed with stomach cancer, hashtag George's medical records exposed, hashtag. The next moment the screen flickered and the phone vibrated violently. Willow's number flashed repeatedly. Chapter 11. Willow called me many times. But I had already left. The George of this world was dead, so I couldn't answer. After a few unanswered calls, her messages began flooding in. "George, what are you doing? Didn't we agree to leave each other alone? Pick up the phone. George, I'm seriously mad this time. Answer me. The recording online is fake, right? George, where are you?" Explosive headlines in entertainment news kept popping up. Hashtag George says he's not seeking treatment anymore. Hashtag George is dying. Hashtag David was tagging me like crazy online, demanding I respond. The 10 girls from before had been found. Reporters were chasing them, asking about me, but they hadn't said much yet. People online were digging up everything, where I'd been with them, how I got sick. The first and last time I went to the hospital. The internet was divided into two camps. One side claimed everything was a scripted act to ruin Willow and Makoto's wedding, while the other side said if that were true, it would be a clown move, because any lie would eventually be exposed. The argument was fierce, all over the platforms. They were replaying David's leaked recordings, my deleting everything related to Willow, unfollowing her, the scene of me coughing up blood at the bar, and finally, me smiling at Makoto and saying, "Groom, congratulations on your wedding. Sincerely." Chapter 12. The rain kept pouring harder. I floated above the city, looking down at its drenched streets, waiting for something. I didn't know what. I don't know how much time had passed, but soon people started arriving at the hill. Screech. The sound of brakes pierced the air, and Willow furiously slammed her car door shut. From far away, she shouted, "George." Her voice was angry but had a slight tremble. She walked toward my car in the rain. "George, I'm warning you." Before she could finish, someone behind her screamed, What's that?" "Blood." "Holy crap. There's so much blood. It's all over the place. We found this spot based on George's photos. Could it be that car looks like George's?" "Oh my God." Willow froze for a second, then looked down and saw the pool of blood. It dripped from the door seam, snaking along with the rain spreading across the ground. She stood there in shock, leaving bloody footprints in the eerie night as rainwater mixed with blood. I floated nearby, watching her face slowly turn pale, her hands trembling. She lifted her foot but hesitated to take another step. Her eyes locked on my car door. The reporters who had followed were braver. One of them stepped forward, gritting his teeth, and yanked open the driver's door. Chapter 13. The moment the door opened, the person let out a blood-curdling scream and stumbled backward. Falling to the ground hard, I pitied him a little. The inside of the car was a gruesome sight. Before I left, I had made sure to go big. After all, if I had gone too soft, I'd just be left waiting weekly for the end. I didn't feel the pain, but the blood splattered everywhere. By the time they found me, it had already spilled outside. Inside and outside the car was a mess. Oh my God. This is horrific. Quick. Call the police. The scene was pure chaos. Willow stood there, frozen, drenched by the downpour. Her lips pressed tightly together. Her eyes red as she stared at my body. A few brave ones were taking photos. Click. The flash of a camera startled Willow back to reality. "Get away." She screamed at them, pushing everyone away, standing protectively in front of my body, looking completely unhinged. "Get away from him." Some of the people tried to say something, but after exchanging glances, they backed off. Once everyone had left, Willow stood there, staring at my body. George. She called my name. George. She reached out and pushed me. George. Wake up. She kept shaking me, but my body just slumped lifelessly. She held me tightly, as if she wanted to bury herself in me. Blood and tears soaked into her dress, spreading in large patches as she cried out, her wails echoing across the hill. I floated above, watching her. What a bore. 7 years of chasing her, enduring her cold indifference countless times. And now she acts like this. What's the point? Chapter 14. The rain poured relentlessly as David arrived with the police. He stared at my body in disbelief. No, he rushed forward and shoved Willow to the ground. David and I were great friends in this world. I lost my parents long ago, and when we first met, neither of us had the careers we do now. In the early days, we supported each other through the struggles. Even after we both built our own careers and lives, we stayed close. That's why back then, I called David directly and asked him to find 10 girls for me. He didn't ask any questions and arranged it without hesitation. He roughly pushed Willow aside, glaring at her with disdain as he sneered. Aren't you the bride? Why aren't you busy preparing for your wedding? What are you doing here? You two broke up, didn't you? You're the one who told him to stop disgusting you and Makoto. So what? Now it's not disgusting anymore. You can't even let go of him. You're so pathetic. Enough with the act. Would George have ended up like this if it weren't for you? Get lost. What a joke. Remember, Willow, every anniversary of your wedding will now also be the anniversary of George's death. You'll carry a life on your conscience. Don't forget to light a candle for George while you're celebrating. Willow tried to speak, but David had already turned his attention to the police officers. The officers ignored the argument between them and went straight to inspect my body. Everything was pretty clear. After all, I was somewhat of a public figure and this was my usual car. To prevent certain situations, I'd installed a 24-hour dual-camera dashcam so they could see the inside of the car too. After checking the footage and conducting some other investigations, they basically ruled out foul play still. One of the people reviewing the dashcam footage muttered. He was really ruthless to himself. No hesitation at all. I felt a bit embarrassed hearing that. After all, I'd eaten the no-pain fruit, so I didn't feel anything. And I'd also had quite a bit to drink beforehand. So luckily I was a soul now, so I wasn't too bothered. But David's eyes turned red. He glared at Willow, who remained silent, and said angrily, George told me he didn't want to live anymore. Looking at the blood that had spread everywhere, David gritted his teeth and said with this much blood, he must have been in so much pain. I was speechless, bro. You're overthinking it. I just checked out early. Seeing you like this makes me feel guilty. I wanted to tell him that, but I remembered he couldn't see me. Sigh. Forget it. Chapter 15. After that, the authorities comforted David and asked both him and Willow to cooperate with the follow-up investigation. Since they'd mostly ruled out homicide, the process went fairly smoothly. Willow remained silent. Her head bowed. I couldn't see her expression, but her fists were clenched so tightly that her nails dug into her skin. As soon as they left the police station, reporters swarmed them. Miss Liu, do you have any comment on George's death? Miss Liu, will your wedding with Makoto still take place today? Miss Liu, George's medical records have been leaked online. What do you have to say about him ending his life this way? The questions bombarded her, but her only response was silence. In the crowd, she was jostled and looked uncomfortable. She didn't say a word, only turned to David and asked, Can you give him to me? David let out a cold laugh. You're not his wife. Why should I give him to you? You were the one who told him to leave. David's eyes were bloodshot as he spoke slowly and clearly. Now he's granted your wish. He won't bother you anymore. You should be happy, bride. Stop acting. Who are you performing for? It's unnecessary. With that, I saw him wipe his eyes and walk away, leaving Willow behind in the crowd. I watched David's retreating figure and sighed deeply. The rain had stopped, but the crowd kept growing. The internet had already exploded. Some of the media outlets who found my body alongside Willow had been live streaming at the time, although they quickly turned off the cameras and their streams were taken down. Plenty of people had already seen the scene. When the car door opened, that horrific sight had spread uncontrollably. Everyone knew I was dead and that my death was gruesome and that I died on Willow's wedding day. George has been confirmed dead. Reliable sources state it was a suicide and the circumstances were tragic. George's medical records have been leaked. Experts say he could have been saved, maybe even lived longer. According to reliable sources, George received $1 billion breakup fee after his split with Willow. There was no issue with paying for treatment based on his phone call with David. It seems George didn't want to live before his death. George left everything to David online. Public opinion exploded and soon interviews with those 10 girls spread like wildfire. George wasn't like you think. He was pure-hearted. Nothing happened between us. They say we stayed in the same hotel room, but the suite was huge. We didn't do anything. I silently mouthed. Shut up. You're making it sound like I couldn't do anything. I was sick. Sick. You hear me? What's wrong with your brains? Lewis, with teary eyes, said. It was obvious George did it on purpose. The day he invited us over was the day he broke up with Willow. He didn't say it, but we all guessed he was trying to see if Miss Lou would stop him. Laura nodded and added. That day when we left, he said it was Willow's last chance. I was speechless. I jumped up, silently swearing. You guessed right. But next time, stop guessing. Can't it be that I was really giving her one last chance? She continued. When George got drunk, he called out Miss Liu's name in his sleep. He must have loved Willow. Everyone knows it was Miss Liu who didn't want him anymore, but he still acted this way, taking all the blame on himself. We didn't know he was sick. He filled his days with so many things. We thought he was just trying to forget Miss Liu. But looking back now, he was clearly sick, still drinking. It must have hurt. Maybe he just didn't want to live anymore. By this point, I was beyond the capacity to even comment. Sure, I called out Willow's name, but in my dreams I was pointing at her and cursing her. I was lucky to be a ghost now. If not, wouldn't this be a case of dying from social embarrassment? Chapter 16. It's ironic. When I was alive, countless people said it was my fault that Willow and I broke up. People cursed me, calling me a disgrace, saying I had no self-awareness and that I deliberately tried to ruin Willow's wedding. But after I died, suddenly everyone started liking me. Some were even editing videos of me, creating tear-jerking montages. Now everyone was talking about how much I loved Willow. Everyone was mourning me. The outpouring of sympathy online was strangely unified. What a joke. I sat in Willow's car, watching her miserable face, wondering what she was thinking. Just now, her assistant Lisa had arrived with some people to get her out of the chaos. Now they were driving back. Lisa sat in the front seat and glanced at Willow in the back. Miss Lou, where should we go? Every place is surrounded. The whole city is on edge. After a pause, Lisa hesitated, and about Makoto, she trailed off, not daring to continue. The car kept moving in circles through the city. Chapter 17. After circling the city 3 times, Willow suddenly said stop the car. The driver immediately pulled over. Get out, she ordered. The driver and Lisa exchanged glances before following her command and stepping out of the car. Willow moved to the driver's seat and started the engine. Miss Lou. Lisa quickly rushed over, worried. What are you doing? Wedding's cancelled, was all Willow said before driving off. I hitched a ride, sitting in the passenger seat, watching the scenery rush by. The street lights flickered in and out, casting shadows on her face. I stared at her profile, unsure of what I felt. She drove to my old house, 723,521. That was the password. July 23rd. Her birthday. I hadn't been back here in days. The house was covered in a layer of dust. She turned on the lights and stood in the entryway, staring blankly at the photo of us hanging on the wall. George. Her voice echoed in the empty house. There was no reply. Chapter 18. George. She called again, as if I'd suddenly pop out and say just kidding. Surprise. But of course there was nothing. The only sound in the house was her own voice. She started rummaging through everything, overturning drawers and cabinets, as if desperately searching for something, leaving the entire place in disarray. I don't know how long she searched, but eventually she found my old diagnosis report in the nightstand. Her hands trembled as she flipped through it. This can't be real. George, you must be lying to me, she muttered to herself as she read until she reached the final result. Stomach cancer, mid-stage, urgent hospitalization recommended. A single tear fell onto the date of the report. That was the day I went to see her. Her hand shook, and in the next moment she ripped the report into shreds, tore it to pieces, as if doing so would make everything disappear. She stormed through the house, angry and frustrated, like a madwoman. Finally, she grabbed a bottle of alcohol from my fridge and started drinking. Her phone buzzed. She glanced at it, seeing a message from Lisa. Miss Liu, I got the dashcam footage from the police. I've sent it to your email. Please check it. A second later, another notification popped up, a new email. She opened it and clicked on the video. It showed the moments leading up to my death. Lisa had even added a note. Mr. George called David after taking a picture of the bird. He probably wanted to send it to you, but after seeing your message, he posted it online instead. Later, Mr. George seemed to have received another message from you, and he lost control, then grabbed the knife. Willow played the video over and over, watching the last few messages she had sent me. Suddenly, she laughed. George, was this your way of getting back at me? She laughed, tears streaming down her face. Well, you succeeded. Chapter 19. I was speechless. How could she think someone would use their life to get revenge? How stupid. I was just a failed attempt at winning her over. System. What do you think she means by that? I asked. I don't know. The system replied. I'm just a program. I don't understand your human emotions or these strange, tangled feelings. Fair enough. Suddenly, I remembered something and asked, System, why is my departure taking so long? The system replied, exasperated. You didn't let me finish explaining. You were supposed to stay in this world for 10 days, but you forced an early exit. Since your time wasn't up, you have to stick around a bit longer. The higher-ups said you were trying to exploit a bug, so they extended your stay. They also warned that if you pull a stunt like this again, next time you won't be floating, you'll stay trapped in your body until it rots. I thought about that scenario for a second. No, best not to think about it. I just watched Willow guzzle down alcohol, shaking my head. She drank until she was stumbling, then rushed to the bathroom to vomit. As she retched, her phone rang. It was Lisa. What is it? She answered. Miss Liu, I wouldn't have bothered you right now, but Lisa hesitated. David's at the crematorium, getting ready to cremate Mr. George. Do you want to come by? Willow froze for a moment before responding. The address. After getting it from Lisa, she rushed to the crematorium. She arrived just as they were about to place me into the furnace. Watching the scene unfold felt strange to me. Wait, Willow rushed forward, trying to stop them. David turned around, anger flashing across his face. You've got some nerve showing up here, David snapped. Get the hell out. Willow looked like she was about to collapse. Her eyes were red as she pleaded. David, I just want to see him one last time. See him? David let out a bitter laugh. Don't tell me you haven't watched the dashcam footage. If it weren't for you, he wouldn't have died like this. Willow, you want to see him? George wouldn't have wanted you anywhere near him if he knew you were here for his cremation. He'd probably sit up out of pure rage. Get out. You killed the only brother I had. But Willow stood there, frozen in place. Seeing this, David marched over and slapped her hard. The slap was brutal. Blood dripped from Willow's mouth. Lisa arrived just in time to witness this and rushed over to stop him. David, you can't do that. It's illegal. Stop hitting her. Miss Liu is suffering too. Suffering. David laughed bitterly. If she knew what suffering was, where was that concern before she was about to marry someone else? I bet she was hoping George would die. Ask her what her last message to him was. She said a good ex should be as good as dead. That's not how it is. Lisa tried to defend her standing in between them. I don't know how to explain, but you can't hit a woman. Lisa's words were cut short by a slap from David as well. Lisa winced in pain, unable to speak. David used the moment to glare at Willow, who was staring blankly at my body. Why aren't you saying anything? David demanded. Can't speak, or do you need someone else to speak for you? Willow's lips were pressed into a tight line. She didn't say a word. Say something. David suddenly screamed, losing control. He looked utterly heartbroken. I suddenly felt overwhelmed with sadness. I wanted to tell him not to be so upset, to tell him I was okay, that I'd be moving on to another world soon. But no matter what I wanted to say, he couldn't hear me anymore. Willow's lips finally moved. After a long pause, she whispered, I'm sorry. Sorry. David laughed coldly. You're sorry? His laughter was harsh as he glared at Willow, then said viciously, if you're really sorry, then fine, you can join him. I'll let you see him one last time. Chapter 20. Willow finally lifted her head. Blood still trickled from the corner of her mouth, dripping onto her blood-stained dress, spreading across the fabric. She didn't say anything, just stood there. David was ready to mock her, but in the next instant, blood splattered. Miss Lou, Lisa rushed over, but it was too late. Willow acted quickly, doing the same thing I had. Doctor. Call a doctor. Lisa had already wrestled the knife from Willow's hand and was trying to stop the bleeding while dialing 911. But Willow shoved her aside. She looked at David, who stood frozen in shock, and said, I want to see him one last time. David's fists clenched so tightly his knuckles turned white. I'll take that as a yes, Willow said, then slowly walked toward my body. She stood next to me, not speaking, just looking. Blood continued to flow, her face growing paler by the second. As the sound of the ambulance sirens echoed in the distance, David asked her one final question. Did you love him? Willow stared blankly at me, her lips pale from blood loss. I don't know, she replied. I just feel, she said. Really sad. It feels like my heart is broken. David opened his mouth as if to say something, but in the end he stayed silent. Over here, this way, doctor, she's here. Lisa's voice called out from afar. Willow took one last look at my body, then whispered, I'm sorry. I'll be with you soon. She bent down, as if to kiss me one final time, but collapsed before she could reach me. Lisa and the medics arrived in a frenzy, rushing to get Willow into the ambulance. The sound of sirens grew louder as they took her away. David stood there, deep in thought, before finally shaking his head. So, are we going through with the cremation? One of the staff members asked, breaking the silence. David snapped out of his thoughts and nodded. All right then, the worker said as he began the procedure. I watched as my body was consumed by flames, turning into ash. I asked the system, do you think she loved me or not? Are you seriously catching feelings right now? The system teased, annoyed. I cursed back. Why do you always interpret it that way? I just want to know if she loved me. If she did, does that mean my mission is complete? Can I cash in my points? What are you dreaming about? The system replied. Whether she loved you or not doesn't matter now. Host, I'm already selecting your next world. Once the time comes, we'll leave. The system tried to comfort me. Don't be sad over a heartless girl. The next world will be better. I promise. Fine. Pick a sweet one. I insisted. I don't think I can take much more. Got it. This system knows what to do. The system reassured me. All right, prepare for world transition. Countdown 54,321. The system's countdown echoed in my ears. I watched the sunset slowly, casting a golden glow. I turned to David and softly said goodbye. He seemed to sense something and looked in my direction. I gave one last wave. I hope everything goes well for him in this world.